This exhibit is called Klunkers and Stumpjumpers, and it's all about the birth of the mountain biking industry and community here in Central Oregon. The name Klunkers comes from the sorts of bikes that people first used when they were mountain biking. They were constantly destroying their bikes out on the trails, so there were really no trails. They were using old game trails in the forest that they would just kind of find and whack their way through the forest. They were going out around Mount Bachelor, all over the forests. There was no place that they wouldn't go, and it was kind of this challenge of I think we could do that, and then they would. But because it was so hard on their bikes, they started using they'd buy these old Schwinn clunker bikes and then kind of retrofit them to meet their needs. And if it fell off a cliff or was destroyed, it was no big deal. They just got another one. I am Rebecca Averett, and I'm the collections manager at the Deschutes County Museum. So we are in the old Reed School, which was the first modern school building in Bend, and it was built in 1914, and it operated as a school all the way up into the 70s, and then it became the Historical Society in 1980. We try to preserve and protect Deschutes County history, so not just Bend, but Sisters, Lapine, Redmond. So we store artifacts from here that we collect, and then we also do exhibits. So then we're also open to the public for people to enjoy the history. There's a gentleman named Bob Woodward who is kind of a storied figure here in Bend. And so we started working really closely with both him and then Dennis Heater, and they really helped connect us with the old-time mountain bikers from around here. And so we were able to do interviews, borrow people's old bikes, collect stories, and then kind of basically tell the story of how mountain biking became what it is here. We start, the story talking a little bit about just the history of bicycling in general in this country. The main focus of this exhibit is from the late 1970s on, when really it became a big deal in this town. And it really started off with a handful of guys that sort of just wanted to be out in the wilderness. There were some mountain biking gang/clubs in town that were kind of a big deal. The Black Rock Riders were based over on the east side, and Clister's Corner was over here on the west side. And they put on all sorts of really fun events, pub crawls, Huffy Hurls, where they would basically throw bikes and see who could throw them the farthest and do all sorts of crazy things. There was a lot of shenanigans involved, from what I understand. Mountain biking is a really big deal in this town and around in this region, but I don't think a lot of people think about how it came to be. We go out on trails and take for granted every day that they're out there, they're nice, they're groomed and taken care of for us, but there's a lot of work on the back end to make that happen. And a lot of what these kind of early pioneers did set all of that in motion. And plus the stories are just really hilarious and cool. These guys are just delightful. And if you're lucky, some days you might come in and Dennis Heater, who's one of the guys that really helped us out with this, sometimes he just comes in and hangs out and tells stories. And he's got so many good ones. So we're a really small nonprofit. We have 4 part-time staff. So the biggest way that people can support the museum is, first of all, by becoming a member. It's not very expensive, and so that really keeps our lights on and our doors open. And then the other way would be by volunteering, and we have a lot of volunteer opportunities. And because we only have 4 part-time staff, we really rely on volunteers to help us out with events, to work at the front desk, greeting customers. Really the best thing to do, I would say, would be just drop in the museum in any of our open hours, which are Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 4:30. Grab a volunteer application, fill it out and leave it, and then we'll set up a time to talk to you about what kinds of things you'd be interested in doing to volunteer.